I don't talk about this much, not because I think people will call me crazy. Honestly, these days people believe all sorts of weird stuff, and no one bats an eye. It is more that whenever I try to tell it, I get this creeping feeling like something's listening in, like I'm peeling open something that was meant to stay shut. Saying it out loud feels like inviting it back. This happened in 2002. I was working nights as a signalman in a town called Kookaburra Creek, tiny place in South Australia, out past the edge of the wheat belt. Hot as hell in summer, dry enough to crack your lips just from breathing. I was 29, single, mostly drifting. The job was a bit of a nothing gig, but it paid all right, and no one bothered me out there. The signal box was a squat concrete cube on the edge of town. Inside, a long metal desk, a switchboard with indicator lights, a creaky fan, a microwave that sparked if you left it running too long. I had a plastic chair with one leg shorter than the others, and a mug that said "World's Okayest Employee" in chipped letters. On the really slow nights, I'd bring a DVD player and put on one of the same 3 movies. The Matrix was my go-to, though the disc was scratched to hell. Neo's face always froze mid-kick. There were 2 rail lines that passed through the area. The main line, which still saw regular freight traffic, and the old branch line, which hadn't been used in years. It split off just past the station and vanished into the bush. There had been a derailment sometime back in the 80s. Nothing fatal, but it shut the whole route down for good. Since then, it had just been dead rail, rusting metal and weeds. Still, I never liked looking at it. There was something about the way it curved off, just barely visible from my window, like it was waiting for something to follow it. That night was boiling. No breeze. Air so thick it felt like soup. I had taken off my boots and rolled down my socks just to survive. The fan was groaning away in the corner like it was dying, and I had just nuked a meat pie into oblivion when the board lit up. Green, the branch line. I froze. That signal wasn't supposed to be connected to anything. The board didn't even route through that line. I tapped the glass with my knuckle like an idiot. The light stayed on, solid, like it meant it. Then I felt the floor vibrate, not a tremor, not a trick of the wind, a proper vibration, deep and steady. The kind of thing you feel in your knees before you hear it. If you've ever stood near a passing freight, you'll know what I mean. But nothing was scheduled, and nothing should have been coming from that direction. I stepped outside, just onto the platform. The air was completely still. No bugs, no wind, no sound, just heat and that low rumble beneath my feet. Out past the tree line, something moved. At first I thought it was headlights, but the light didn't behave right. It came in segments. Long, rectangular flickers of yellow sliding past one by one, like windows on a train, only taller and too slow, and the angles, they didn't make sense. They jittered slightly, like someone was dragging them through water. No sound of wheels, no grinding metal, just that low hum. Then I noticed the shadows. They weren't in sync with the lights. One of them walked past the same window twice. Same movement, same stride. A perfect repeat, like a loop had restarted, but only for them. I stepped back into the signal box and shut the door. The board clicked again. Departure light. The system was registering something exiting the far end of the branch line, which should have been impossible. There were no live sensors down there. The track didn't even fully exist anymore. I hovered over the radio, but I didn't call dispatch. I didn't know what I'd even say. Eventually, I grabbed my flashlight and went out the side door, telling myself I just wanted to make sure everything was normal. That was a lie. I wanted proof, or an excuse. I got about 10 meters down the path before I saw the prints. 2 sets, side by side in the dust beside the track. One was definitely mine, same boots, same worn heels. But the second set, they matched mine. Same size, same tread, but reversed. Left was right, right was left. Like someone had walked beside me, perfectly mirroring each step, but flipped. I crouched down and checked them twice. Ran my fingers through the prints. They were real. I felt this weird pressure behind my eyes, like I was looking at something that shouldn't exist. Something that wasn't supposed to be seen. That shook me more than anything else that night. I didn't sleep the next day. Just lay in bed with the fan going, staring at the ceiling, thinking through every rational explanation I could find. Heat stress, a wiring fault. Maybe I'd walked in a circle without realizing it. Maybe I had stepped backward at some point without noticing. But I knew that wasn't right. Then a few nights later, I picked up an extra shift. Someone had called in sick. I almost turned it down. Should have. Around 2 a.m, it started again. The board lit up. The rumble came back. And through the blinds I saw the lights pass behind the tree line. Slow, faint, but real. This time, I didn't go outside. I just watched. The figures were clearer now. Not people exactly. More like shadows wearing the idea of people. Outlines filled with that shimmering oil-on-water texture, moving in wrong ways. Too stiff, too fast, too fluid. Like their timing was off from the rest of the world. Then one of them turned. It moved right up to the edge of one of those flickering lights. Its head tilted slightly. Same building, same clothes. It was me. Standing there, inside something that wasn't a train. Staring out at something that wasn't a window. Its mouth didn't move. Its eyes didn't blink. But I knew it saw me. I stepped back from the blinds, heart pounding. I remember thinking, don't look again. Just don't. And then the lights faded. The board went blank. I waited until sunrise. When I went to leave, my boots were gone. So was my thermos, the one I always kept next to the door, just gone. Everything else was exactly where I had left it. I stayed another week. I think I was trying to prove something to myself, that it was stress, or heat, or just one weird night. Then the dreams started. Not nightmares, just wrong. I'd see the signal box, empty, humming, the lights flicking on and off in loops, and a figure standing inside, always the same, always still, always me. I quit after that. No warning, just packed a bag and left. Drove to Port Augusta and never looked back. Never even cleaned out my locker. I think part of me wanted to leave something behind. Like if I left too clean, it might follow. Someone else took the job. I never met them. Heard later the station was decommissioned for good. They said it was vandalism, broken wiring, damaged gear. But the guy they sent to inspect it never came back for his second shift. Maybe that's just gossip. I never asked. Sometimes I still wake up around 3 a.m. Just a cold sweat and the feeling that something passed by. Not walking, just passing through. Like it was sliding past the walls, on rails that weren't there. Last summer, I found my old thermos in the garage. The same one. Same scratches, same dent near the lid. But the initials stamped into the bottom. They were flipped. Not faded. Not worn. Reversed. I don't sleep much now. And I never open the curtains at night. The skin forge. I still smell it sometimes. That bitter, sharp reek of damp hides and tannin. Like someone tried to turn a butcher shop into a perfume store. I can be walking down a clean street in Milan, minding my business, and it hits me, bam, right in the back of my throat, like that workshop never let go. This happened in 2007. I was 20, dumb, hungry to be part of something that felt older than me. My uncle Marco set me up with an apprenticeship outside Parma, in one of those hillside towns where the houses looked like they'd been fermenting in the same weather for centuries. My teacher was this guy named Arturo, one of those artisans who never left the old ways behind. He had fingers like twisted rope and eyes that barely blinked, like he didn't want to miss whatever was watching him back. He made custom leather goods, masks, gloves, armor, strange fashion pieces for rich people who like secrecy more than style. You would not believe what passed through that shop. Commissions paid in cash, no names, just sketches and deadlines. The workshop was down a stone stairway, half buried in the hill. Thick walls, low ceilings, and yellow lighting that made everything look sick. It smelled like boiling glue, wet salt, and something else underneath, a sour sweetness I still can't name. Arturo kept this old CRT TV running off a bootleg DVD player. One night, it was the thing. I thought it was just flamethrowers and paranoia. Looking back, I think it was a warning. The crate showed up in August. No label, no return address. Arturo signed for it without blinking. Inside, a roll of something wrapped in wax cloth. He unwrapped it slowly, like he already knew what was in there. When I saw it, something in my chest backed up. I didn't move, but it felt like my bones tried to backpedal. It looked like leather, but it wasn't. Too soft, too warm. The surface shimmered, but not evenly. The way heat warps asphalt. The color shifted depending on where you stood. Pale flesh 1 minute, dusky rose the next. Arturo said it was for a set of 6 full-face masquerade masks. The client had already paid. I asked where it came from. He shrugged, said, "Some materials don't come with stories. They make their own." We started work, or tried to. The material didn't behave. It didn't resist physically, but every cut felt wrong, like slicing into something that remembered being whole. The first mask came out perfect, too perfect. It didn't look like a design. It looked like a person's face, not carved, not shaped, just peeled off, pressed flat, and waiting. That night, I stayed late, TV on mute, the thing again, looping in the corner, and I heard laughter, not loud, not clear, just a soft chuckle, like someone nearby had just been told something quietly hilarious. I turned the TV off. The sound kept going. The masks were on the bench, lined up like heads in a morgue. Nothing moved, but the air felt wrong, heavy, like walking into a room where someone had been crying, only sharper, like walking into a room where someone had been cut. I didn't sleep much after that. We finished the second mask, then the third. I started losing track of days. I had dreams that didn't belong to me. I was a boy in a flooded village. Then a woman watching her hands age in the mirror. I woke up speaking languages I didn't know. Words I forgot before I could write them down. One morning, I found a pair of gloves on the bench. Slim fit, matte black, flawless, my size. Arturo said he hadn't made them. Neither had I. I tried them on. My fingers curled like they were greeting an old friend. The gloves didn't feel tight or loose. They felt expectant. I started noticing more. Tools out of place. Sketches I didn't remember drawing. A cut on my palm that wasn't healing. Arturo told me I was too in my head. Let the material lead, he said, like it was teaching us. I got curious. Dumb move. I went through one of his old drawers, found masks he never talked about, faces, not blank ones, Detailed specific expressions: fear, disgust, ecstasy. One looked exactly like my old biology teacher, that same lopsided scowl. I laughed a little until I realized the face wasn't frozen. It was waiting, like it knew I'd show up eventually. I turned around. Arturo was there. He didn't speak, just walked over, closed the drawer with a soft thunk, and muttered, without looking at me, "Don't drink the water upstairs. Tastes like bones." That night, I made the 6th mask. It was my face. Not similar. Not a rough draft. Mine. Scar over the eyebrow, chipped tooth, that annoying crease in my chin. I don't remember making it. I looked down, and it was there, like I'd been working in my sleep. I told Arturo I was leaving. He didn't argue, just smiled and said, "Sometimes the material chooses you." I packed my bag, tried to leave town. First bus never came. Train got cancelled. Walked 3 separate paths, all of them curved back to the same square. My legs ached, my feet bled. Same result every time. I went back to the workshop and tried to burn the mask. I held a match to it and heard a scream. Not with my ears, in my skull. My voice, raw and endless, like it was being pulled out of me one nerve at a time. I dropped it. The mask wasn't even burned, just a little black at the edge, like paper curled by a candle. I smashed the window with a mallet and climbed out. Didn't even grab my jacket. Left everything, tools, sketchbook, wallet. I ran through the trees until my lungs started to buzz. I hit the road at sunrise. A delivery van pulled over. The driver looked me over and asked if I'd been in a fire. I told him I didn't know. After that, things just worked too well. The roads were straight again. No loops, no shadows. Like whatever had been watching just turned away. I got to Parma, then Milan. Took a job in digital design. It's dull, reliable. I don't mind. In 2014, I went back, just to check. The hillside was empty. No door, no steps, not even rubble, just grass. Like the workshop had never existed. I haven't dreamed since 2007. But sometimes, on the tram, I see someone wearing a face I recognize. Not someone I knew, someone I was. One time, I looked out the window and saw myself staring back. The timing was perfect. My reflection blinked a beat too late. I found the gloves again during a move. Folded, neat, in the pocket of a coat I hadn't worn in years. I keep them in a drawer now, a deep one. I taped it shut. But some nights, I hear the faint sound of leather creaking, like something inside is stretching. I haven't put them on again. But some mornings, I wake up with leather dust under my fingernails. The Red Mile. There was a time I used to paint roads for a living. Not city streets or highways, nothing busy like that. I worked rural maintenance down in the Dordogne region, southwest France. I was 21, no degree, no clue what I was doing with my life. Just had a job with the DDE, driving this sluggish old line painting truck, putting stripes on forgotten stretches of asphalt like it mattered. Most of the time, it didn't. That was the point, really. Nobody drove those roads. Some were technically closed, but still had to be maintained for record keeping. I liked the quiet. I'd stick a CD in, drive slow, zone out. Back then I was looping Daft Punk's Discovery almost daily. The CD skipped during track 5. I remember that because I got used to it, like a weird little beat the song wasn't supposed to have. One job stuck with me. Hasn't let go since. It was a Thursday. My supervisor handed me an old laminated map with yellowed edges, dug up from a file cabinet I didn't even know we had. He slapped it down like it owed him money. Need you to repaint this stretch, he said. Not in the system, but it's on the books. The road was a skinny pencil line cutting through a field near an abandoned vineyard. No route number, no name. Off in the corner, in faint handwriting, someone had scribbled Zone Rouge. I raised an eyebrow. You sure this isn't just a walking trail? I asked. Doesn't matter, he said. If it's on the record, we mark it. That's the rule. I left early the next morning, packed a sandwich, a lukewarm bottle of mineral water, and my usual 3 cigarettes I never finished. I followed the map off the main road, past a crumbling chapel, then through 2 stone posts barely wider than my truck. The road was there, right where it should have been, but there weren't any signs. No potholes either. It looked brand new, paved, clean, not a leaf or footprint on it. I remember thinking it looked fake, like a showroom model of a road. Still, I pulled in, lined up the sprayer, and started the job. A few meters in, I noticed the line coming out of the sprayer wasn't white. It was red, not fresh blood red, but deep, like wine or dried paint. I hit the brakes, thought maybe the tank was contaminated, got out, opened it, still white, chalk white like always. I even dipped my finger in and checked, definitely white. I restarted the machine, still sprayed red. For a second, I stood there just staring at the line. Part of me wanted to open the tank again. The rest didn't want to know. I lit a cigarette, took 2 drags, and dropped it. Figured I'd deal with it later. There wasn't anyone out here to complain, and honestly, it looked kinda cool. I figured I could repaint it white before heading back, or just say it was a lighting issue, so I kept driving, real slow, letting the sprayer roll. After maybe 10 minutes, the road started curving. That wasn't on the map. It was supposed to be a straight line through farmland, but I figured it had been rerouted since the map was drawn. The department's not exactly known for its record keeping. Then I passed a rusted mailbox, half buried in weeds. No house nearby, just that box and a tree with pale bark. A minute later, I passed it again. Same tilt, same dent, same spiderweb crack in the side. I actually laughed, thought I'd turned without noticing. Or maybe the loop was small, but after the 3rd time, it stopped being funny. The same mailbox, then a half-burned wooden sign, then a car, a blue Renault, parked at an angle in a shallow ditch. Its driver's side door was open. The stereo hissed static. I slowed to a crawl, checked my phone. Dead. Not low battery, just black screen, like it had been powered off for hours. GPS had nothing. No bars, no loading, just the spinner. The 4th time I passed the mailbox, I stopped the truck. I got out, looked around. Everything was quiet. Not countryside quiet, like nothing. No wind, no insects. Just me, the truck, and the red line stretching behind me. I kicked the sprayer in frustration. It hissed at me like it was still mid-cycle. I told myself to finish the loop. I must have missed the exit. A few minutes later, I saw a truck ahead. Same shape as mine. Same orange stripe down the side. Same mirror hanging loose like mine. I didn't process it at first, just thought, another crew out here. Then I saw the license plate. It was mine. My truck was parked up ahead, engine idling. The door was shut, windows fogged. I approached slowly. My hands were shaking. Inside the cab was my jacket, my keys. A sandwich wrapper on the seat, folded the way I always did. The CD was spinning. Daft Punk again. Track 5 skipping at the same note it always did. I leaned in closer. My fingerprints were on the dashboard. There was a faint smell, something familiar. My sandwich, ham and butter. but the wrapper was clean, untouched. I didn't remember finishing it. I backed away without touching anything. I turned around to drive back, just bolt. But the road behind me looked different now, narrower. The trees leaned in toward the road, like they were watching. The red line shimmered slightly in the light, almost like it was wet. I put my foot down and drove, past the mailbox again. The signpost was gone. The blue Renault was back, but the door was shut this time. The stereo was silent. The reflection in the mirror, for just a second, looked like me standing beside it. But I didn't stop. I started to feel like I was shrinking. Not literally, just like the world was getting bigger around me. Like the road was stretching longer between each landmark. I'd drive for what felt like 10 minutes, then past the same tree. I was running out of water. The air was dry, too dry, like breathing in paper. Then I saw someone up ahead. At first I thought it was just another driver, maybe lost like me. But they were walking dead center in the road, facing away. Same build as me, same posture. Their head was tilted slightly, like they were listening to something behind them. I called out, nothing. I got closer, heart pounding. Every instinct told me to stop, but I kept going. The figure didn't turn around. Then they vanished. No flicker, no flash. Just gone. Like a video cut. I slammed the brakes and just sat there gripping the wheel. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I think I was too tired to feel anything by that point. I closed my eyes. When I opened them, it was dark, normal dark. Stars, crickets, the buzz of distant power lines. My truck was parked on a gravel shoulder beside a regular road. The red line was gone. Asphalt looked old again, cracked in spots, like it had never been touched. My truck wouldn't start. Battery was flat. My watch said 9:12 p.m. I'd left at 8 that morning. It felt like the day had just skipped me. I walked 5 miles to the nearest petrol station, told the guy I'd broken down. He didn't say much, but he looked at me like I'd come crawling out of a well. Back at work, nobody remembered giving me that assignment. I went to find the map. Gone. The filing cabinet it came from had been reorganized. Just a stack of blank sheets and a dried out pen. I left that job a couple weeks later. Moved up north. I work in a warehouse now. No trucks, no maps. Sometimes, on quiet nights, I'll hear that CD skip again. Not in real life, just in my head, like an echo. Or I'll catch a glimpse of a red shimmer on the edge of a road sign and have to blink a few times to make it go away. A few months ago, I was driving back from a wedding, took a wrong turn, found myself on a road I didn't recognize, trees leaning in, asphalt too smooth. My hands started shaking before I even saw the line. But there was nothing there, just a regular road. Still, I turned around. I didn't want to see what came next. In the rearview mirror, the road behind me looked wider than it should have, and I swear I wasn't the only one turning back.